All right, Crawford, thanks so much for having us here. Tell us where we are and what Edu-Pack is.
Well, we're at the Edu-Pack warehouse in Roswell, Georgia, and Edu-Pack is a program that uses school supplies to share the gospel with children, mostly in the Western Hemisphere, but we've worked around the world. And what we do is we collect school supplies and raise funds through churches and private schools and individuals, organizations, civic groups, and we use those funds to buy just very basic school supplies. Composition notebooks, pencils, pens, erasers, pencil sharpeners, glue sticks, crayons, those kinds of things that we put into special Edu-Pack backpacks, and then we use those to be the hands and feet of Christ in countries of need.
Crawford, what's life like for the kids who are getting these backpacks?
Tough, tough. We can't imagine what these children are going through. In Haiti, most of them only eat one meal every other day, and it's usually beans and rice, occasionally a little chicken. Most of them cannot go to school because they don't have the proper clothes, they don't have the proper books, their parents can't afford to send them to school. They live literally in tin houses with dirt floors, or they live in a concrete house with a concrete floor, very small. Most of our walk-in closets in this country, if you put two of them together, that's the size of what these kids live in. In many of the countries that we deal with, I think in Haiti there's 18% living with HIV. In Jamaica it's about the same. They're poorly in poor health, they're poor nutrition, they're poor financially, they're just poor all the way around.
Why education? In light of all the problems you see, in light of all the devastation, the disease, and all the things going on, why is education the thing that you guys grab onto?
I believe that education is the ray of hope. Because most of these kids have been raised poor, their parents didn't have a good education, their grandparents didn't have a good education, and they most likely will not have a good education without intervention. The education offers them the opportunity to escape from this poverty. It offers them the opportunity to become significant influencers in their family and in their community and their government and their country.
How many backpacks do you guys send out? Tell me scope of what you're doing and where you want to be doing. What's the dream?
Well, we did 10,000 backpacks this year to 11 different countries. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's amazing. We did 10,000. My immediate goal is to do 100,000 a year, and my long-term goal is to do 1 million backpacks a year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think you need to dream big a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to dream, you know, to do 10,000 backpacks a year. I mean, quite frankly, anybody could do that. 1 million backpacks a year, that's a God-sized dream. There are 134 million children in this world who've never been to school. I think we can change that.
Okay, so now you're leading a huge organization. You guys are sending out thousands of these things a year. How did this all begin, though? How did you get to where you are now?
It all started in Haiti in 1998. I made my first mission trip. We were giving away the last of the things that we had taken there to give away. We brought clothes and medical supplies and toys and all this kind of stuff. And we're giving away the last of these things. And quite frankly, I was embarrassed at what we were giving away. It was little 3x5 spiral cards and golf pencils, the little pencils with no eraser. And I just thought that this was worthless and that nobody would find any value to this at all. And within seconds after we stopped, our Jeep was overrun with parents and children climbing over each other and clawing and grabbing and yelling as they grabbed a pad of paper. Now we can go to school. Now we can go to school. God just used that to give me a calling to collect school supplies. My first thought was, if that's all it takes to send somebody to school, we can do it. We can do it. We've got paper and pencils laying all around our houses. It's like confetti. We even have drawers that we call the pencil drawer, and everybody's got one, you know. So we can get school supplies and send them to kids, and we can make a difference in their lives by doing that.
Crawford, after the first moment of God kind of grabbing your heart, was there another moment along the way that He's kind of continued to show up with vision and purpose for you guys?
Yeah. It was a couple years later. We were in Corfu, outside of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, in a slum there. And actually, a friend of mine who was with me snapped a picture. So I have this not only embedded emotionally in my mind, but I actually have a physical picture of it that I have hanging in my office. We are in a church giving out school supplies. And there is this little girl, and her parents have her all dressed up. She is just gorgeous. She's got these plaits in her hair and ribbon in her hair. And she's walking in front of this wire mesh door. And there are, it seems like 50 kids hanging on the outside of that door. And it reminds me that for every child we help, there are dozens we haven't even gotten to yet. And they desperately need this help.
Crawford, if you had the chance to talk to a group of young adults, a lot of us are kind of at the more beginning of our lives, looking forward, and we're asking a lot of questions about purpose and direction. What would you say to someone who's just kind of looking for a calling or a path for their life?
Well, the first thing is not to get ahead of God and let Him speak to you about where to go. But the biggest thing I would say is don't get discouraged that you're not important enough to make a difference. I'm just a regular guy. I mean, I really am. I'm a regular guy. I live in a regular house, drive a regular car, wear regular clothes. I have a regular family, and there's nothing that I would say that is particularly outstanding about me. But God chose to speak to me in terms of giving me a passion to give these kids school supplies. I mean, I practically flunked out of college. I had a hard time in high school. I am not an academic whiz kid by any stretch of the imagination. So for me to be involved in school supplies is really counter to my personality, really. But yet God gave me this calling. And so I believe that if we listen to God and we give Him time to speak to us, we follow that calling, that we can be significant. And I believe each one of us has a calling. You know, Jesus didn't say, you know, for those of you who feel the, you know, need to go out and do something, then, you know, go to Jerusalem and Samaria and blah, 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 blah. He didn't do that. He looked at them all and He said, go, do, to all of us. So it's not a question about whether or not we need to go do something. He's going to give you a calling. He's going to give you a path to go. And you need to follow that. For some of us, it will be working with an organization. For some of us, it'll be starting something new on our own. But don't think that you're not important, and don't think that God can't use you. He can. And I'm perhaps a good example of that because He is using us. We're distributing and touching 10,000 children a year. And the greater part of that is that we're probably actually affecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 50,000 people a year just by putting a backpack full of school supplies into the hands of a child.